After watching this video tutorial, you will know how I've added windows to my 3D scene in Blender using just the very basic 3D geometry, 3D matched camera and photo references. If you have any questions or comments on the techniques that I'm using, feel free to leave them under the video so we can all learn from each other. And remember, this video is part of my interior visualization course in Blender, which is available for free on my channel. You can find a complete playlist with other parts linked in the description field. And if you want to access all of the project files that I've created and support what I do, I share more information on that at the end of the video. Anyway, my name is Lech and welcome to my interior visualization course in Blender. Hi everyone, in this video we will create the window and balcony door element we can see here, and the element itself consists of two layers of geometry. I would say we have those big elements like here, those beams you can see, and let's say these doors, and the other level of detail in this element are things like the ones you can see here. So the window profiles, those elements, and yeah, we will have to split this work into two stages. So the first one will be creating the main, let's call them beams. In between we will fit the more detailed elements, and this will be the fixed models we already have as chocofur. The model I'm going to create will be a little bit different to the one we have in the reference. So you can see here, this is the rendering for this course I have created before. And you can see I removed the doors from here. I think it looks cleaner and a little bit better. I don't want to correct the architect, but you know what I mean. And it also saves us a little bit of work on the details like windows, which are pretty hard and always very time consuming, but not visible that much in the visualization. By the way, these kind of details, I have my own theory that if they look good in 3D, you will never notice that they look good. But if they look very simplistic and wrong, you will immediately notice that. So these are a little small touches around every project you have to pay attention to in order to get the best looking results. Yeah, so as I mentioned, we will first off start with creating those beams. Using my extra viewport on the right, I will use a 3D cursor and place it somewhere around this edge. Well, let's do it here, which is more or less a point where the window will be reaching to. So let's go back to the top view, and as always I just create a cube, and you can also see it here. Let me just enable a gizmo. And I'm still not switching to the solid view, but maybe let's do it for now. So you can see it might be quite hard to determine where does this element have to be placed exactly. And you can approach this multiple ways. You can simply put your cube not super perfectly or super exactly where the actual element is initially and then adjust it. And by the way, you can see, since we did the camera matching by hand, it's not that clear where the cube has to be located to, let's say, create this part here. But since we have a top view enabled here, and the top view is created from the technical drawings, I would say more or less our window will be placed here. So I'm just gonna use this very basic cube to just mark this shape here. And since it's obscured by the handrail, I will just help myself by going to the 3D viewport here on the right and just moving the object. Yeah, let's just move it up through the second floor like this. Once we have that, I will now select the object, and using my extra viewport on the right, I will just duplicate it within the y-axis and move it to this huge wall here, and just to see how does it match our view here. I think on the reference, this beam would actually go throughout the both of the floors, and I think this can be also noticed at the exterior reference. But yeah, since we are just freely modeling it, let's keep it here, or maybe let's do it like this. So I'm moving my geometry to the actual object position. Let's now scale it within the y-axis so it matches the width of the object, and let's move it somewhere here in between, so it's placed here at this corner, which logically makes this one big window surface, this one here another surface, and this one here. So we will divide them a little bit more freely ourselves. And let's duplicate it one more time and place it here. I think, yeah, we could use a huge beam like that in this area. I will just adjust the size of this object a little bit. Let's grab it first. I'm gonna press S, Shift Z, or maybe I'll go to the top view and scale it in y-axis like this. Okay, so this is the very, very basic shape of our window frame. I'm now switching the view to the second camera we already set up. So you can see we still have this small height mismatch here, which I will fix in a second. But yeah, other than that, I think if we select our frame, we obviously have a little bit of offset here. But for this main frame, I will just add one more element going horizontally here, one going up here, and a few more covering those two window openings. So I will now speed up the video to save you the modeling time, and we'll get back again once I'll be adding the more detailed elements. Okay, as you can see, we have the base window frame already prepared. And what I'm gonna do right now will be applying the very basic shader. Let's just call it black, so the scene is a little bit better organized. And what I'm interested in at this point is the viewport display color. So let's change it to the actual black. Maybe let's do it also here. Oh, okay, sorry, I already did it. Yeah, so this will allow me to navigate throughout the scene a little bit better at this point when the new details come to the scene. And the approach I usually prefer is to having very small number of materials around the scene. I'm not saying very small, like 3 or 5, but I have seen projects where people tend to keep sometimes hundreds of independent shaders. I think that really makes things way harder to manage and navigate. So the shader I'm gonna create right now, which will be just a very basic thing, will be later adjusted by me and perhaps even applied to the other objects, like let's say the table I think we have here on the left. Yeah, you can see this table and this window. I think they could easily have the same material. Same with the wood in here and here on the kitchen elements. But we will get back to that later. Let's now focus on adding the secondary details to our window frame. I'm going to use chocofur Windows 07 and Windows 08 models to add these details, and those models are available to you for free as a supplementary material to this course. To add the models to our Blender scene, we can do it both ways. We can either use the chocofur model manager, which I will cover a little bit later in this chapter, and you can also simply drag and drop a blend file to your 3D scene. So I'm going to do it right now. I select Windows 07 model, drag, drop, and click append button here. What you can see here, this is an internal structure of that blend file, but I'm just gonna use the object folder here and select my model and click append from library. So you can see the model is now added to the scene. I will just move it around, rotate it, and put it somewhere around the frame freely, just like this. And now I'm gonna add the second model as well. So same procedure, very quick to be honest. And let's move it somewhere around as well. Maybe I will change their position. So I will move this double window and this triple window object here and align them more or less. You can see those models, they have quite a lot of detail, like this railing here and all of the internal elements. So I will place them just a little bit more naturally where we have this brighter frame element from the inside. And yeah, you can see obviously the model doesn't match the frame yet, but we will now work on it a little bit. We can adjust the height of the object without even getting to the scaling operations, because some of the chocofur models have shape keys already applied. And what are the shape keys? You can see right now. Let me just increase the interface a little bit. So we have a value slider here, which allows us applying this very simple modifications to the object, like opening doors or changing the basic dimensions. So here you can see we are able to adjust the window's height. And if you want to know a little bit more about shape keys, there will be a link under the video to one of the chocofur tutorials about it. Yeah, so let me just adjust the height of the window using the shape key, but I will probably work on the width of the object just using the scale tool, because when we use the shape keys, they actually, with this particular model, I'm not sure why I'm not, yeah, now you can see the change. So with the shape keys, we are here allowed to change the layout of the windows, but this is something that I don't want to do at the moment. That's why I will just very quickly adjust the width using the scale tool, and to do it precisely, I will just move my 3D cursor here. Now move the object so this edge doesn't go too deep into the frame, something like that. Now with the object selected, I will now scale it like this using the yeah, now it works. So the 3D cursor is the endpoint for our scaling operation, and that's how we are able to align the shape. I will just go to the top view for a second and decrease the depth of this window frame element. Move it somewhere here maybe. Yeah, so it's now pretty nicely aligned. I can also duplicate it. I'm just using Shift D operation for that, because if I did it with Alt D, which I will actually show you right now, the problem with Alt D in that case is when I'm using the shape keys, the instanced object also changes, and I want to avoid that because this window will have different height than the one below. So let's do it like this. Oops. And we can now adjust the second window the very same way. Maybe I will just scale it, to be honest. Let's now select the shape key here. Scale within the y-axis. I'm just gonna do it by hand. SY. Yeah, and more or less, I think more than less actually, we now have those two elements matched. You can see they are not super similar. I mean, this divider here, it's a bit bigger than here, but I think it's pretty much the same in the original building. So you can see this element is a bit bigger than these two, and this one is really big actually. So let's just leave it as it is. I think it looks a little bit more natural this way. Just as a final touch for this main element, I'm gonna decrease the depth of this model and move it just a little bit like that. Okay, yeah, so I would say that would be everything for this part of the windows. And we are just left with those two little elements here. So let me switch to the second camera again. And let's work on those. For the remaining window elements, I will now use chocofur window 06 model. So again, as previously, let me just drag and drop it to the scene. Append, select object. Just a little bit too fast with that, and move it somewhere around this area. So this time I'm just gonna very quickly scale it within the z-axis as well and try to match it much quicker. Just rotate it 180 degrees Scale within the Y again, just a bit. Again. Now scale in Z again, and I think we are done with that. I'm now gonna instance the object, so I'm using Alt D because I do not use any shape keys with that one, so I can use Alt D shortcut. Yeah. Okay, so this is more or less what we need. I'm not touching the materials of these newly added models at this point, because you can see it's everything should be black, but we have probably a metal shader here since it's gray in the viewport. But I will get to all of those details again later during the project. Right now, what I want to do, what I want to focus on, is adding those better level details to the scene, so we are not only left with those blocked out elements, and so we can progress and step by step again get into the better details, into the more photorealistic stuff. So the windows are just the first step for this scene. We will now move to enhancing the whole staircase situation we have here. So thanks for watching, see you in the next video. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to access all of the project files I've created when working on this course, plus the complete Blender interior and scenes and over 2000 Blender exclusive 3D models that will greatly improve your rendering quality, just visit the chocofur store, learn more about our subscription plans, because these truly are the best money can get you right now if you're seriously considering becoming better at Blender. Guys, thank you for watching, and I see you in another video. Bye bye.